I wanted to talk to you today about a collapsed narcissist versus someone who actually does want to get help and treatment for their issues. So basically, a collapsed narcissist, we'd be talking about a covert narcissist. I think occasionally overts go into therapy. If you look at Cora, you can actually hear narcissists talk about themselves in treatment. The overt that I talk to has been in therapy for a decade. Okay? No one has a decade to be waiting around. And I think more along the lines of a covert because they're hurting every single day. They're in pain every single day. They're emotionally volatile. They have issues with their perception and seeing reality. They just have a shitload of problems, and they're probably not able to keep a job. The more lower functioning, the more they're going to be in pain, and the more things are going to affect them, and they could possibly reach out for a therapist. But it's going to a therapist, it's staying with a therapist. Whereas a overt narcissist, the one I knew, was very good at his job, and he was never low on supply. So you see, he would never be needing therapy because he thinks he's all good and his life is just going well and he's successful. So, but then behind the closed doors, you get to see what's really going on with them. And then I want you to think of this. If they went to therapy, it would be like 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, over and over again. So not only do they have to take accountability and feel the shame of being an abusive person and treating the people they loved like shit, enough for them to leave them or want to leave, and that's going to trigger a shitload of shame, okay? And they're going to feel inadequate. The covert that I know who's getting therapy said that he struggled so much with feeling inadequate. And they're going to have to be able to be mindful and in the moment to see when they are about to do something wrong, or take the feedback of someone saying, hey, you just invalidated me, and for them to take responsibility in the moment and then take accountability, and then the commitment to stick with it and to feel that pain and hurt of how they were abused as children. So I'm going to give you an example of what creates a covert narcissist, and then you can think, how long would it take them to therapy? Okay, it's going to take them years. But here's an example of the one I knew. He basically told me that he was not giving any love or care, and that the 2 times he remembers someone caring about him, 2 times in his whole childhood, right? 2 times, was when he was really sick. Then the second time was when he got stung a lot in his head by a bunch of bees, and he almost died. But he said his mom was more hysterical, not really caring about him. Which made sense why this person was caring about me when I was sick, but never caring about me any other time. It's because that's what he experienced. That's what he knew. He didn't think you're supposed to be caring all the time. Now, someone coming from a decent home who got some love and caring, knows how to have empathy, and knows how to connect, care about people, meet their needs, and they meet your needs, reciprocity. Well, someone like him, whose brain isn't wired for connection, whose brain is wired to protect themselves and to keep themselves out of harm, and hey, the world is a dangerous place, they're going to be operating in a completely different way. And while they look like adults, their emotional intelligence is that of like a 3-year-old. So the whole point of therapy would be to grow themselves up, to feel the pain of the extreme neglect and abuse that they went through, and how they were used as children. He actually went through a group course that was several months long with 5 other men, and they were all sexually abused. So they're going to have to deal with that, of being used and abused, and own all that pain. So yeah, this will take years. Now, a collapsed narcissist is just low on supply because they've had the supply taken away from whatever shenanigans they've done. The person's left them, found them a new boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever, and they're all alone. Oh my God. And their family may realize what has happened. Who knows? And so they're really extremely low, and after days, weeks, months, whatever, they're collapsed. It's like they have this breakdown, and they're at such a low point, and their defenses are lowered. They've hit a really low point, and they don't have no supply. But the sad thing is, as soon as they get the supply again, the entitlement rears back up, all the defenses come back up, and they're acting like who you knew them before, and they have not changed. So someone really in therapy, it's more of, I see him, he's either clueless or struggling. That's basically it. Not trying to lie or manipulate me. Whereas the collapsed narcissist is going to tell you what you want to hear, and they're going to seem understanding, kind, and caring, because their defenses are lowered, and they're going to try to do anything to get you back because they're hurting. They're in a world of, like the one I knew would tell sob stories about his childhood because it gave him supply. Whereas he actually had one male authority figure in his life tell him how disgusting that actually was before he was able to actually see. It was someone he went to church with. Before he's able to actually see, yeah, this is kind of disgusting. I'm trying to make people feel sorry for me. I mean, no one does that but a narcissist or sociopath. Hey, feel sorry for me, feel pity for me, because look at all I went through. There's plenty of people who are severely abused and neglected and don't go around destroying other people. So there's a really big difference between a collapsed narcissist, just saying what they want, there's been no real change, and someone who you know, who is possibly a narcissist, who has a lot of narcissistic traits, who you know needs therapy. Okay, they're not going to change overnight. Do not lie to yourself. And do not let them lie to you, because they'll use the wounds that they know you have to hook back in, and then boom, you're back together. Do not be tricked. And if you have those wounds, then deal with them. Heal them. The collapsed narcissist comes around and acting all kind and loving like you hope one day that they were underneath all of it. You know, underneath all this pain, that they're this amazing person. No, I don't think so. They have so much trauma, that's not even possible. They'd have to heal that trauma. So then they could learn how decent people operate. And they operate from a completely different mindset, a completely different world than we're in. And they're going to be coming around saying all this bullshit, and you're going to believe the bullshit because you have all these wounds. You can heal the wounds so that you're just like, oh, you won't, like if they say, oh, I'll never leave you, you know, because you have abandonment wounds, you'd be like, okay, but I'm good. I like being sick, because you'll heal all your trauma, and no one will ever be able to manipulate you again, because guess what? You will not need their approval. You will not need their validation. You will not need them hanging around so you don't feel alone. You'll be all good, all on your own. And you won't need anything from anyone. You'll be taking care of your needs. You'll want stuff from people. But when you start being needy and desperate, is when you'll start accepting toxic people into your life and start putting up with their behavior because you don't want to feel the pain that you have that's going on inside of you. And never, ever tolerate a toxic person again, because you won't need them in your life.